If you've searched online for hiking tips, you may have found a lot of advice, some of it great, some of it that seems a little bit off. Even good advice can steer you wrong if you don't know one key thing, and that's the context that it's coming from. The speaker's experience, hike type, even where they live all shape what they mean and what they assume you understand. If your situation is different, their advice might not apply at all. Let's say you meet a thru hiker on the trail. He's low on water and asks if there's a source nearby. You tell him there's a stream 50 yards back, running nicely over some rocks. You know he's going to filter it, or if he doesn't, that's on him. He's experienced. He'll deal with it however he wants. But now imagine you meet a dad who just hiked in from a nearby trailhead with a 6-year-old and their dog. The kid says, "Daddy, I'm thirsty." The father asks if there's water nearby. All he has is an empty plastic bottle. You should answer, "There's a stream up there in about 50 yards. Let's go there and I'll filter some for you." You're not just giving advice, you're making a judgment, and you know full well that the dad is not carrying a filter. That's the kind of context shift that changes what the right answer is. Here's a real mistake I made one time. I was hiking the Appalachian Trail through New York, and I asked a group of weekend campers, they were younger kids, probably late teens, if they knew of any water nearby. And one of them told me, "Well, there's nothing but a puddle up there." In despair, I kept going, assuming I was out of luck. I certainly didn't want to fill up from a mosquito-infested mud puddle, but I never checked it out. A few hours later, a thru hiker passed me, and he told me that so-called puddle was a spring-fed, perfectly good source. Those campers didn't lie. In their context, it was just a puddle. They didn't know about water filters or any other forms of treatment. But I didn't pause to consider what they told me with my knowledge and in my context. I made bad assumptions about what they were describing. This happens outside of hiking, too. One of my son's friends was once asked if he lived near the ocean. He answered no. Now, our town bordered on the Atlantic, but we lived at the other end, about 8 miles away from the water. What he didn't consider was that the question came from someone from Kansas. For them, the Gulf of Mexico was 600 miles away. 8 miles away is near the ocean. But the answer was based on a local's definition, not a Kansan's. If the person asking had lived in our town, that answer was right. No, we didn't live near the ocean. We lived on the other end of town, as far from the ocean as you could get and be in that town. It's a small example, but the principle is the same. The meaning of simple words like near or good or safe shift based on who's asking and what their experience is. Another time, I was on a long trail. My hiking partner, Don, had gotten off the trail on day 2 after an injury, but we were still in contact. It had been his first hike, and he was meeting me at trailheads in case I needed anything. I was running low on water, but I found a side trail to a potential water source. The sign said it was a half mile. I wasn't sure it was running, so I texted Don and asked if he had any water, and he answered yes. I skipped what would have been a 1-mile side trip, but when I got to the trailhead, Don only had a half-full, half-liter bottle for me that had been in his car for a year. He wasn't wrong, he did have water, but again, we had different expectations based on different experiences. But Don was a good-hearted guy, and he learned from that, and he became actually a very good trail angel for me and a lot of other hikers for the next few days. Even my videos can fall into this trap. When I talked about the big 4, that's tent, sleeping gear, backpack, and food storage, I focus a lot on weight. But if you're on a day hike, 3 of those don't even apply. You don't need to think about base weight or obsess over ounces. You're home by dinner. Even though I try to be mindful of different hikers' needs, if you don't know the context I'm speaking from, you might take advice that doesn't fit your situation. When you hear hiking advice, especially online, ask yourself who it's for. What kind of hiking are they doing? What's their age and fitness level? What's the terrain? What assumptions are they making? It's not that the advice is wrong. It just might not apply to you. That's important because most of my videos have been geared towards multi-day backpacking trips and haven't applied much to day hikes. Within a few weeks, I'll be turning my attention towards that. Even something as simple as water isn't the same for everyone. I know this was a little different, more meta advice than anything else, but I think it sets the tone for this channel, and it's why I don't do gear brand reviews, for example. Even the best equipment may simply not be suitable for everyone. If I had $1 for every stretch of trail I've struggled through after being told by another hiker it was easy, or I breezed through after being warned about it, or for every highly recommended raincoat that wetted out, well, I'd have about $15, but you get my point. If you've ever taken or given advice that didn't quite work out, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. If I've given you something useful to think about, please like, share, subscribe, and comment on this or other topics you'd like me to cover. And if you haven't seen this video, I recommend you take a look at it now. Thanks for watching.